Hello and welcome again to another episode of Battle Ready. Today,
was I Yoshi?
No, I don't know why you were Yoshi on that one. That's pretty cool. Well, you're gonna pop out of an egg, I guess.
No.
So one of the things we thought we'd talk about today is Warcry and Kill Team, and the reason is we love Warcry.
Warcry.
We play it at least. We play it at least weekly. We love doing the different war bands. I've played a bunch. Drake has found a couple that he really likes.
And some I dislike.
And some that he dislikes. But we play it all the time. And it's great, great fun. It has a lot going for it. And then we've also played some Kill Team.
Despite.
And Kill Team is good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's a
like
good game.
40K cry.
Yeah, it's like 40K Warcry, sort of. But it hasn't caught on
as well
the same way that Warcry has. We don't find ourselves compelled to play it. We're not doing it on a weekly. In fact, we haven't played a game of Kill Team in quite some time. We didn't get the last one of the Kill Team boxes from the first season, the Morok or whatever it was. And then we haven't done any of Into the Dark or its follow-ups at all.
Yeah.
So
the first one we got was Octarius.
We did get Octarius.
I wanted it works.
So the question then is, well, they're both skirmish games, right? Yes. Where you have small bands. You both have,
10,
8 to 12 guys, 8 to 13 guys, right? Somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
You're acting independently. They're not really in units.
Mm-hmm.
And you're still going and getting objectives or hiding treasure or whatever it is. And so it's like, well, if they're similar-ish, they occupy sort of the same space, why are we digging Warcry? I'm basically in love with Warcry.
Same.
I love Warcry. And how come Kill Team is there?
Number one.
It's not. Let me just say, we want to come into this and say Kill Team's not a bad game.
Yeah.
It's not. It is actually a good game. And I think every time we've played it, I've had fun.
Same.
I've enjoyed Kill Team. But it just doesn't hit the table for us. And I'm not as excited to play it the way that I am with Warcry.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought we'd talk about a couple things. Let me hit one first. It's sort of the obvious one. And that is the theme. So we both like sci-fi. So we're both good there. But I think in general, I like fantasy stuff better.
I like magic.
Yeah, sword and sorcery, magic stuff, and bows and arrows and that kind of stuff.
The medieval stuff that will not be used anymore piques my interest more than stuff that could come along in the future that we just don't have yet.
Sure, but that setting is it's a lot more attractive to me. I really enjoy the fantasy sort of Age of Sigmar, Mortal Realms world way more than I do 40K stuff.
Planet.
And for that reason, I think that has a lot to do with the excitement level. I'm more excited to play Warcry because I get to be in that world.
Yeah.
Whereas 40K, not only am I not nearly as well versed in the lore, but also it's like, it's the lore aside, you're dudes with guns shooting other dudes with guns. So it's mostly about the shooting.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's bad or less strategic. In fact, in a lot of ways, it might actually be more strategic.
Because of the command points and stuff.
But there's just some, I'm just not as excited about that theme.
Yeah.
All right. Why else did Warcry hit for us and Kill Team no?
One thing I said, and you sort of said it, was the lore. We understand Warhammer lore, sort of.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the 40K lore. So, in Age of Sigmar, when we're doing Warcry, it's like, oh, the Horns of Hashut. Well, we know these guys because they're the mortal followers of the Chaos Dwarves, and they're coming in to do this certain thing. And then when we get to Kill Team, it's like
Tau.
Orcs. Cool. And, oh, yeah, these Tau, and they've got some
laser guns.
Laser stuff. And it's cool. I mean, it's cool, right?
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's cool. We're not trying to offend anyone here.
But we don't, we don't have a full comprehension. So another reason I think that, and I think this might be maybe the main reason, is the complexity level, Warcry versus Kill Team. Warcry
is around here.
The complexity level is, at least if you were to teach the game to somebody, the Warcry is super simple.
Yeah, it's like down here.
It's you have your guys.
Like AOS is up here, and like that's a big difference. That is a head size difference.
But in Warcry, you have your fighters. Each one gets to do 2 things, and they only have 4 things to choose from.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Move, fight, disengage, which is move, and wait, which is pass. So really, it's like 2 things to choose from. So all you're doing is fighting and moving.
Around.
Yeah.
In certain different ways.
So it's way, way, way simpler. Whereas Kill Team,
you have command points.
You've got your command points, and there's stuff that you do in sort of a pre-phase versus stuff that you do during the game. Everybody has different orders, whether they're concealed or aggressive. And then everybody has different shooting. And the interesting thing about Kill Team is almost every fighter, at least the way that we built the Kill Teams, almost every fighter has like their own complete unique loadout, meaning they have their own unique weapons, they have their own unique special abilities, they have their own unique keywords that come off of things. And in Warcry, it's not like that. You typically have a leader who's a little special, and then a few strong guys that have something they do, and then a few weak guys that maybe have something else they can do.
But unless we're
and then there's 6 special abilities.
1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 6.
6 special abilities where you need to roll dice to get them, but they're largely shared. It's like, oh, this ability, these 5 of my 10 fighters can do this ability. Oh, this ability, these 4 of my 10 fighters can do that ability. So it's a lot easier to manage than having 10 separate profiles where each person is different. I think that level of complexity makes Kill Team a little bit harder because
this is Warcry and this is Kill Team. That is a nose and a forehead.
A nose and a forehead. And I think it's because one of the things that makes Warcry so attractive is we play almost every Sunday, right? In the afternoon before we get into other things. We're like, hey, let's just play a quick Warcry.
Why not?
It's fast. It takes
30 minutes, maybe?
Yeah, like 40 to 45 minutes. There's setup time too. So all together, you're looking at a little over an hour probably.
Which is not that long.
Which is not that long.
It's a little on the longer side.
Kill Team is also short compared to it's shorter than Age of Sigmar.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But it uses a lot more brain power to play through. And in fact, we've played a handful of times. We played probably 3 or 4 times. And the way that you build stuff and you give people equipment and that sort of thing, it has a lot more list building to it than Warcry, where you can sort of just pick up the available warbands and have a good time with it. So that, I think, is a big part of it. Did you have another one you wanted to say?
The amount of thing that it's sort of sci-fi miniaturized Warhammer.
Kill Team?
Yes.
Yeah. That's skirmish. Mm-hmm. But again, just the same way that Warcry is.
Yeah, but what I meant is you still have artifacts, and you still have command points. So it's like mini Warhammer.
The list building phase does make it difficult. And it's funny because in Warcry, they still use the point system where every fighter has an amount of points. You get up to 1,000. Mm-hmm. And Kill Team doesn't use that system, which at first I thought was super cool. You just pick the guys you want. But because of that, you sort of have to figure that out in advance.
Yeah.
In Warcry, we just say, oh, I want to play Dark Oath today. Oh, I want to play Rotmire Creed today. And you get those models and you go to town.
Yeah.
Whereas in Kill Team is a little bit more like Age of Sigmar or 40K, where you have to plan out your list in advance, spend however long you're going to do that. Yeah. Pouring beakers.
Planning.
And only then are you ready to play Kill Team. So it's not as easy to just sort of pick up.
Done. Unless you have a set list like we do for most of our armies by this point.
Yeah, but that's because we've put in that time already, right?
Yeah.
And I think the last thing that really differentiates Warcry from Kill Team is in Warcry, the variety is super high.
Yes.
Super high.
Yes.
So you have card that tells you how to put out terrain. Although you don't need that. You could do your own terrain. That's fine. So that's not a big deal. But then the deployments are randomized with a card. The missions are randomized with cards.
And the twists,
which add a special rule, are randomized with cards. So what you get is completely different from game to game. Whereas with Kill Team, at least Octarius comes with, I think, 6 missions, which is a good amount. Yeah. I mean, that's not bad.
That's for like a...
But you really sort of get 6 victory plans, each with their own static deployment. And so it's just not as much variety. The terrain does add variety, but it's not as much variety as you get from Warcry. And I like Warcry in the fact that you set it up, you draw the cards, you're like, oh, shoot, this is going to be a killing game. And I brought Shadow Stalkers. Dang.
Tissue paper army!
Or sometimes you bring super heavy hitters, and you're like, I'm going to crush the other side. And it's a game about picking up treasure and running. And you're like, no, my guys will never be able to catch up.
But I did it.
Yeah, Drake did it. So that's sort of the fun of it is you have your little warband, whatever it is, and then it's like, let's see what they do today. And I think that's sort of cool. I like that it's very random. Now that does mean that occasionally you hit a combination that super favors one side or the other, right? That totally happens. But the nice thing is Warcry is so short, and we've definitely done this, where we've played a game of Warcry. It lasted, especially if it's one-sided, it'll last 30 minutes. And then you're like, all right, let's re-rack it. New mission, let's do it again. And it's no big deal, right? If you get into a bad matchup in Age of Sigmar where you're like, oh, these guys can totally crush my army because of some special ability they have, and I don't have any defense to that, you're looking at, at a short game, 90-minute commitment of getting pounded. Right?
And just trying and failing.
And even with Kill Team, if you come up against something like that, which maybe it happens, it's a little bit more complicated, and so you're going to be involved a little bit more. And at least for me, at the end of a game of Kill Team, my brain is ready to take a little break. Whereas at the end of a game of Warcry, I used, and I don't want to sell Warcry short, because Warcry still has a lot of strategy. It still has a lot of movement shenanigans. It's all about how you use special abilities. There's a lot to it that sort of evolves from a simple rule set. But it's more straightforward than Kill Team is. So ultimately, is Kill Team a bad game?
No.
No. And if you like Kill Team, great, right? I'm not here to convince you otherwise. Kill Team's a great game. But for us, when we were looking at skirmish games, and not just looking, but when we've been playing skirmish games, that's where Warcry really has hit a great balance. Kill Team, a little bit too on the complex side, a little bit too brain burnery for a skirmish game that we're looking for, right?
My brain's being burned.
It's not a brain burn. If you want to play Kill Team, it's not a brain burn, right? If that's the kind of game you're looking for, fantastic. But if you're looking for something that's sort of short and sweet, it doesn't quite fit that bill. But then you look at something like A Song of Blades and Heroes, which is way simple on the other side, and that's too simple.
Is that a game?
Yeah, we played. That's the one we played with the sticks. Remember when you measure them out?
Oh.
And it was everyone just sort of met in the middle and punched each other. Well, it wasn't that good. But Warcry hits a great middle path. And anyway, that's why Warcry for us has been a big hit.
Big.
Why'd
you look at me?
Kill Team, on the other hand, while a good game, just has not seen as much success at our table.
Success for Warcry.
So if you are looking for a skirmish game, I would really have you take a look at Warcry. And the best part is, for free online are the core rules, and for free online are all the point values for all the models. So if you have Age of Sigmar models, and you're like, hey, I'll just make a little warband with 8 or 10 models or whatever, you can absolutely do that. You can absolutely play the core rules and have a little punch up with it and see if it's good. And if you like it, then you can get the mission cards. You can get terrains or other warbands. You can get whatever you want. But not only is it easy to experiment. All right.
Up with it.
Not only is it easy to experiment with, but we found that it definitely hits the table a lot. So anyway, final comments?
No.
No. All right. Well, this has been another episode of Battle Ready. Thanks so much for watching.